Welcome to Political Psychology. Today we want to tackle an interesting subject. Some of us may have a sense of belonging, strong emotion to the country we are from. We may have a natural, positive bias to the place we call home. This is what psychologists call national identity. But the question is, how active is our national identity? What happens when that sense turns into patriotism, when we have an affection, a strong affection for an ideal? Or what happens when it turns into nationalism, when there is a sense of us versus them? Are they just random feelings? Or there are links between these identities and our psychology? To understand this, we have to look at two historical moments: a bloody battlefield in 1920s Europe and the launch pad of Cape Canaveral in the 1960s. Nationalism as the shield. Picture Europe in 1920s. Poland has only been a reborn country for 2 years after being completely erased from the map by rival empires for 123 years. Suddenly, before they can even build a stable government, the Soviet Red Army invades. The Soviets didn't just want to land, they wanted to completely erase Polish identity. To the outside world, Poland was doomed. But on the ground, a fierce psychological phenomenon took over: nationalism. This wasn't just politics, it was nationalist romanticism, the absolute conviction that their specific culture, language, history, and whatever they called country had an inherent right to exist. Within weeks, peasants, university students, and wealthy aristocrats dropped everything to join the army. Against all odds, they executed a daring maneuver at the Battle of Warsaw, throwing back the Red Army. They saved their culture. In political psychology, this story shows nationalism acting as a shield. It is a fierce protective belief that your group is a distinct family that must be guarded at all costs. It provides a shared identity so incredibly strong they can hold the fractured society together when it's being squeezed by outside empires. Patriotism as the ladder. Now, let's fast forward to America in the 1960s. The country is tearing itself apart from the inside. The civil rights movements, the Vietnam War, political assassinations, internal division is everywhere. But amidst this chaos, the space race kicks off. It was fueled by patriotism, the love of country expressed through excellence, and a shared civic goal. If nationalism asks, who is trying to destroy us? Patriotism asks, what can we achieve together? 400,000 Americans, from factory workers and seamstresses to mathematicians and test pilots, pushed forward the Apollo program. They weren't just chasing a paycheck. They felt a deep duty to their country's reputation. They wanted the American flag on the moon, not to conquer space, but to prove that the system and the people could do the impossible. When Neil Armstrong stepped onto the lunar dust, it created a moment of civic religion. For a brief moment, the bitter internal divisions faded. This shows patriotism acting as a ladder. It pushes a country to be the best version of itself, encouraging citizens to climb high, be better, and contribute their unique talents to a legacy larger than themselves. So, we have a shield, we have a ladder. Let's look under the hood. What separates a patriot from a nationalist? Psychologically, it comes down to how that attachment is seasoned. If your attachment to your country is built on positive pride, affection, and civic ideals, it's patriotism. But if that attachment is mixed with animosity towards outsiders, a sense of innate superiority, and a rigid us versus them mentality, it crosses the line into nationalism. Because of this, nationalism can easily become divisive. It opens the door to xenophobia, racism, and hostility towards migrants. In political psychology literature, this closely mirrors what we call collective narcissism, an inflated defensive belief in the superiority of one's group, with a constant paranoid fear that the group is being underappreciated or threatened by outsiders. It is precisely why populists love nationalism. Populism thrives on pitching the pure superior people against the corrupt establishment or an outside threat. Nationalism provides the perfect, fertile soil for that narrative to grow. Here is the ultimate question. Why do some of us become patriots while others become nationalists? Does it happen by chance? Or is it hardwired into our personality? To answer this, we look to social identity theory, which was developed by Henry Titchfield and John Turner in the 1970s. They discovered that humans don't just have a personal identity based on individual traits. Our sense of self is deeply shaped by the groups we belong to, whether it's a sports team, profession, or a nationality. We naturally favor our in-group over an out-group. It's a basic evolutionary survival mechanism. But what your brain does with that preference depends on your stable personality traits. And the empirical research here is fascinating. A 3-year study out of New Zealand revealed that authoritarianism, a preference for order, tradition, and a strong authority, is strongly linked to both patriotism and nationalism. However, a pivotal 2017 study by Osborne and colleagues found a sharp divergence when it came to something called social dominance orientation, SDO. SDO is a worldview that believes life is a tough, competitive hierarchy where some groups must dominate others. The research showed that SDO is heavily linked to nationalism but completely unrelated to patriotism. Another factor is self-esteem. Data shows that individuals with high self-esteem gravitate toward healthy patriotism. On the other hand, those with low personal self-esteem are statistically more likely to seek out collective narcissism, using the aggressive superiority of a nationalist group to shield their own fragile ego. Throw in cognitive inflexibility, which is rigid, black and white thinking, and you have the perfect psychological recipe for nationalism. Because these are deep, stable personality structures, the macro rates of nationalism barely budge. In fact, large-scale data tracking 10 different countries from 1996 to 2014 showed that overall rates of nationalism remained unremarkably unchanged over nearly 2 decades. It's not a passing fad. So the question we were trying to answer today wasn't whether nationalism or patriotism are good or bad. The question was, what do we need? Do we need the defensive, protective sense of nationalism to survive a crisis? Or we need the ladder of the patriot to achieve something impossible? Thank you for watching this.